Hi, so this is Charlie from Team BCUZ, and I wanted to show off our robots before we take them apart for the season. So the primary thing that we do on Team BCUZ that's a little bit different than other VexU teams is we use a lot more polycarbonate than other teams do. Sometimes a little bit too much polycarbonate. So we have polycarbonate pretty much everywhere on the robots. The lifts are made out of 1/4-inch polycarbonate bars, and we have 1/8-inch polycarbonate joining them. The claws on both robots are made out of 1/4-inch polycarbonate. The lifts on both of the robots are the same. The 24s just doesn't go quite as high. The 15s going up to there. The geometry just lets the gull tip backwards. We have polycarbonate on this whole doinker is made out of polycarbonate, including the linkage that flips it out. We have structural polycarbonate on the both arms. The mounting form is polycarbonate. Conveyors largely polycarbonate. Some extra bracing. Yeah. For the most part, both of these robots are basic Metabots. The drivetrains are about 85 inches per second, 8 motors on both of them. Have pretty basic claws and lifts, non-locking claws. We didn't end up wanting to spend the time on a locking one. The 15's conveyor motor is hidden underneath the conveyor and geared up right there on the side, using 3D printed gears. 24's is just in the middle of the conveyor right here, then chained down. We used IQ chain just out of preference over VRC chain. Yeah, the lifts are pretty short overall. Both robots had a center traction wheel, which was molded polyurethane. We made them ourselves to be the custom size that we wanted them to be. 24 is sliding right now because it's up on its kickstand. Both of the robots also had a brake mechanism, which was a lever that would stick into the drivetrain gears. On both robots, this was initially done so that we could utilize our launch assist mechanism. So I can show it to you pretty easily on the 24. We had it on both robots, but what it was these rubber bands right here were attached to a string that is wrapped around this spool. And so basically we wrap the string around the spool before the match starts with the brake engaged. And then as soon as the match starts, we release the brake and the robot shoots forwards, which sort of gets rid of the acceleration time that motors have. This is the 24's Beyblade at full power. This is the 24 without Beyblade from the same position. After that, the string just sort of comes off and we can drive around. That was combined with a kickstand on both robots. We used an active kickstand, which was just a piston, a small piston that we can use custom pneumatics in VexU. So we used a small, on the 24 we used an FRC gearbox shifting cylinder. On this one we just had a small pin cylinder. And it just sort of pops out and pushes into the ground. And that saves us time versus an over-the-center kickstand. Because an over-center kickstand, you have to pop up over center, and doing that, you lose grip with your wheels. And so we found that this method was just faster overall than using a over-center kickstand. And on the 24, we needed a kickstand to have it sit underneath the platform to be closer to the toggle. Both robots utilized custom aluminum crossbars made using 3/16" aluminum. The 24 had 2 1.5-inch wide strips that we pocketed out using our CNC. We broke a couple of end mills and ended up not finishing that one. But the 15 had a single piece aluminum crossbar that we pocketed and lost about a half a pound. That crossbar was just the extra crossbar that we had for the change-up robot. The change-up robot and the 15 from Tipping Point Barry had the exact same drivetrain, other than the addition of the brake and the spool gear. Both robots had the same butt clamp, which was done, Alliance goal clamp, which was done using 2 pistons. They were both, each robot only had 1 solenoid dedicated to them, and we used flow controls to control the order of operations when using these. And we primarily used 16th inch or 3/16 inch polycarbonate for them. I can sort of show the order of operations, where the top clamp clamps first and then it tilts the whole thing up. Both robots ended up being about 17 pounds. The 15 was 16 and a half, and I think the 24 was right at 17 pounds. And we did that in addition to a lot of the polycarbonate in order to keep the robots light so that we could have a faster goal rush. And so keeping the robots light along with our Canstealers was our primary method of winning matches. We would just try and get to the neutral goals first, because if we had 2 yellows and both of our alliance goals, and if we filled up our alliance goals and double platted, there was very few lose conditions. And so the primary way that we did that was with our, like I said, with our Canstealers. So our Canstealers are the big arms that are made of a central piece of aluminum that's 1/4 by 3/8. You can see in between the blue rubber bands. It's on both robots. 24s is a little bit longer. 15s is shorter because I have to fit it on the 15. The 15 also had a match play doinker. You could see them on the High School Winning Alliance 254 and Pybotics, and the middle school bots that made it to World Finals 3324B. They all had some type of arm. And so our doinker on the 15 used an inverse 4-bar to have the motion that we wanted to have. And that maxed out the 36-inch expansion limit. By maxing out the 36-inch expansion limit, we were able to get to the goal as fast as possible, because you couldn't legally go any further. And so what we were doing was maxing the 36-inch expansion limit, and then we were retracting as fast as possible. And we did that by slamming the tip of that hook into the goal, and then the rubber bands pull it back. And so I can show you right here. And so that moves the goal. On the 15, it moves it around 9 inches. On the 24, it moves it around 13 inches backwards. And that moves the goal incredibly quickly and prevents other teams from being able to grab the goal during their goal rush autonomous. And here I can show you the 24-inch robot retracting the high goal. And so the high goal is caught in the pole catcher right there. And when you don't turn as violently like we do in our AUTON, it keeps the goal inside and doesn't tip it over. With the 24, we ended up having to use a polycarbonate pinion down here in the drivetrain in the middle, because the force of our launch assist mechanism caused our printed pinion that we had been using to snap one of its teeth off when we were loading. So the back pinion on both sides of the 24's drivetrain are polycarbonate. And that's also why we have a polycarbonate gear on the 15. Similar reason, didn't want to break a tooth. So when we were cutting out the pinions for the 24, went ahead and cut those out. Yeah, so we didn't perform as well as we wanted to at Worlds. A lot of that was due to us not accounting enough for the friction of the new goals on the brand new tiles. And so the Canstealers didn't work quite as well as we had been planning on. But yeah, I mean, it's a learning experience for us. So I just wanted to sort of show the traction wheels and how well they work. So, I mean, yeah. Similar thing with the 15 on the 24. Just sort of sticks to the ground. For the 15's Beyblade or launch assist mechanism, the spool was obviously right here with the brakes being able to be applied like that, at which point in time the drivetrain can't move. We had that just on a hold the fire during match play, so that if we were sort of fighting anybody for a goal or a position, we didn't have to use our drivetrain for it. But with the string, we would spool it right around here, and it would come up along this path, would go around this pulley and around this pulley. I had these rubber bands here afterwards, and then it would go down to the front right here, would be the track for that. So for the 15 to be in size, the lift clamp would have to be closed. We had a small section of IQ chain where we didn't have any flap chain on it. And then the butt clamp closes, and then the hood folds down, and we just have some over center banding right there. So as soon as the match starts and it jolts it around, it just pops that up. And then whenever the lift's up, we can just run the conveyor like normal. As for fitting the 24-inch in size, the Canstealer had to be in this orientation where it was being held up by the pole catcher. Normally we did that with a little lever right here that would hook onto this axle. It's a bit of a pain to set up, so we ended up just using the pole catcher. But because in the extended position, obviously it's well outside the 24, and then also in the fully vertical position, we're outside the 24-inch vertically. So sort of to make sure that our robot was in size, but also make sure that arm is as long as possible, we started it at an angle. And then just going to sort of show you what the active kickstand does. So I mean, it acts like any normal kickstand, but it sort of pushes the robot up like that. And yep, we're pretty happy with both of the robots that we competed with this year. We had a different 24-inch earlier in the season that was more of a crab design. It would grab both yellow goals that it was going for at the same time.
Third autonomous hero and Vex you. Oh no, the crab did not work again.
But we're pretty happy with the design that we ended up going with the retracting Canstealers and the launch assist and everything like that. Had some pretty fast times. I'm going to include some autonomous videos at the end of this video, both in slow-mo and in real time, so everybody can sort of see what those look like. And then we're also going to include a just sort of an explanation as to how we timed our autonomy to sort of figure out how we stood in comparison to other teams that we could get videos of. And that sort of let us figure out when we needed to stop trying to be faster with the Canstealers and stuff like that.